Hi guys, great to see you. I hope you're doing well. I know some of you guys been feeling a bit ill and dealing with heat and Lord knows what. But anyways, hopefully you're on the mend and things are going well for you. Yeah, thanks again, Tolemykus. I really like popping your quotes on. I think it's quite neat. Well, I'll get into the people specifically that are up here right now. Great to see you, Charles Satora, Tolemykus, and Brian R. Smith. And we'll get straight into the. I'm going to hold on here, hide your thingamabob, and we'll go straight to the narrative and go from there and see what's cooking for today. As per usual, I don't know when William Aarons is going to pop on, but he sent up a bunch of images, so we'll take a look at that. And he also has a little blurb for the ATA, but it's not about news or whatever. It's about his grandfather again. It's quite an interesting little story. So hopefully that will pop that up here. Hold on. I'm going to go and share the screen so you guys can see this. All right. Good. And as per usual, welcome everybody. Please let me know what you guys have been up to this week, especially if it's gaming related stuff. Oh, good morning, Gamers with Coffee, Ashley. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. And I'm going to pop in a couple of the games that I've been up to this week. Oh, good morning, Wardrobe plays World War II. Hope you're doing well, man. So, like I said, these are the things I'd like to pop in. I didn't see anything with from last week with the live stream fact checker. I didn't see anything that raised a yellow alert when I was reading something or starting to ad lib or what have you. Oh, great to see you, Meandering Mike, for sure. Gamers with Coffee Ashley says I'll be listening in the background. Wicked. Oh, there you are, William Aarons. Hello from Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. Thanks again for sending up your stuff. It's like I've said before, it's our show, and it's so amazing when people send me stuff so that way I can share it. Like even Clark Commando 1983. So you're going to see it in a minute here. These are things that caught my eye this week. We'll go zip through it quickly because I'm probably going to miss talking about them. So I would like to mention them for sure. The Globe articles are just dandy. And what I've been doing, I'm going to actually have to go and buy a Brian R. Smith's Wise Guy History. Posted a couple of Pass of Glory gameplay this morning. Not your Weltkrieg, but it's World War I related. Thank you. It's another thing I like to do as well, Brian R. Smith, is go on the Consim forum and take a look to see what's been fresh. For example, Wardrobe Plays World War II just did an Illusion, I think, of Glory report and whatnot. So there was there. There he goes. Boink. Imperial Tide. Sorry, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that's a Gregory R. Smith game, I do believe, as well as you were mentioning, Charles Satora. You just got Zeppelin Raider in the mail. That's a Gregory R. Smith game, I do believe. And I did do a pinup guy in the Gallon Guy of the Week, and the person that I picked this week is Lieutenant Robinson, VC. He got the Victoria Cross, I guess, this week. He was the first person there. He shot down the Zeppelin with incendiary bullets. It's the first time I think they were being used or something. But oh my gosh! And reading the articles on that and all the brouhaha that went after that, after like monster amount of souvenir hunters were going on, and like everybody wanted a piece of the Zeppelin and so on. So it's really wild stuff. Anyways, the Globe articles are just freaking amazing. Like you're not going to see this one, but I'll show it to you very quickly. Here's you're not going to see it. It's but anyways, this is from occasionally they do things like news from 1866, like the Globe from 1866. This one's all about Budapest, and that I guess right at this point, or I don't know where it is, but they were talking a little bit about the history of Budapest and stuff. I just thought it was pretty cool. It was a Central Power victory. France surrendered with Russia not having a rebel. You know what? Of course, what am I doing? I can get you guys while I'm babbling away here. You can see his stuff. And we can still scroll over to here. Oh, great to see you, Mini Warman. Hope you're doing well, man. And please let us know, because I haven't been paying attention. But please, if you could tell us how your painting challenge is going, would be great. Because now it's 7 days in. So, anyways, remember this last week, Hindenburg and Ludendorff have taken over, and I want to start really being cognizant of that going forward when we start taking a look at what's going on in the war summary and the articles. I want to see how they start changing how Germany goes about conducting the war. Essentially, one biggie I do know for a fact is that Hindenburg and Ludendorff are monster fans of unrestricted submarine marine warfare, and the Kaiser is like Mr. Vacillator, as we all know. And so there's going to be they're obviously going to be talking into his ear, because next year that this does happen. I'm not going to say it's a direct whatever, because we also know they got the turnip winter coming up. And so this is the other cool thing about knowing what's going to happen. We get to take a look and, in real time, see this stuff, but it's like, we know it can start putting the pieces together. I think it's great. William Aaron says, actually here. I know, I felt so bad for you, man. I actually stayed up all night for reading his long article, and then it got obliterated. I was like, oh my God, you poor thing. I know what it's like, man. It's anyways, General J Sta, chief of the Bulgarian General Staff, he died this week. I think there was a suggestion that possibly it was a suicide or whatever, but yet again, this is coming from Allied newspapers, so I don't know how much you can, bring into this. These are, like I said, things that just caught my eye, things I want to go and look ahead about. Miss Garrett Anderson and Lady Mary Murray, she's the wife of Sir Gilbert Murray. I can't remember. It was earlier in the week. Something caught my eye on it. I'm going to have to go look it up later on. August Wilhelm Otto Niemann. This is when I was reading the book, I think, upstairs, The World at War there, the David Osaluba book, or I can't remember to say his name right. Anyways, he brings up this thing called Der Weltkrieg Deutsche. I'm not going to say it. It's in a 1904 thing about basically about how some authors and whatnot were seeing how Germany could go forward and win the war. Also, that book brought up Oppenheim's Indian Revolutionary Committee. I'd like to go and find out about that. I've 3 times this week, T.E. Lawrence's 7 Pillars of Wisdom popped into my consciousness through reading stuff. So I was like, this is going to be interesting. The first attack on the Suez Canal, I want to bring this up very quickly. I just thought was kind of interesting. Took them 3 weeks to travel 300 miles in the desert, and their army contained Anatolian Turks, or Circassians, Syrians, Kurds, Druids, I guess, Bedouins. I don't know what types of people they are, jihadi, volunteers, and Germans. And they went up against the British forces, and they had primarily Indian forces, Punjabi, Baluchi, I guess, Gurkhas, Rajputs, Egyptians, and British. Oh, great to see you, Harro Bosma. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to hide this thing. Hold on here. There we go. And I've tried to play Quartermaster General in 1914 in the past 2 weeks. Wicked. I'd like to know a bit more about that, please. Anyways, like I said, update on which World War I games you've been playing. Well, you just gave me a couple right there, so thanks a lot. I don't know if this is gonna, I'm getting too grandiose with these type of questions, but I'm just like I said, I want to engage with you guys again. And compared to what last week when Brian R. Smith was mentioning, is like the problem with these what if type questions sometimes is you got to look at all the things. I can't just grab somebody out of isolation and say, what would this person do? It's like, well, there are other players involved. Anyways, the question I'm going to throw out for you that popped it in the thing was, what do you think is the biggest effect that the Great War had on human civilization? I mean, was it medical technology? Was it the fall of empires? Whatever. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'd like to know what you guys think. Big Bertha Bingo. I've put the numbers in your thing. You're going to see the points in a minute for who or what am I in World War I, which we'll get to very quickly. We'll start that off on the thing. So last week was the Battle of Sardarabad. We found out about that. It was basically if the Armenians had lost that battle, essentially they probably wouldn't have there wouldn't be a modern day Armenia, that type of thing. Interestingly enough, good old Cher Ami brought in another related battle, and we'll take a look at the number now. Sounds like, wow, it's 1915, number 25, the battle or the defense of Van. And I thought that was kind of neat, because here we are again now with the Armenians and whatnot. I don't know too much about it. I went and looked at the wiki thing. Maybe we'll go to the wiki thing later, but I popped the points in. People did get some stuff. And at 29 year, you can see the leaderboard, who it is. Like, I think Meandering Mike, you got a point. So did you, Charles Atora, so on and so forth. So you're in there. We're going to go take a look at the ATA and coordinate it with your pictures, William Aarons. That makes sense. Pinup Gal and the Guy of the Week, we're going to go, we'll do that super quick, as well as Elizabeth Spencer, the soprano. She was brought in. The reason why I brought her, she was in, yet again, one of the Globe articles. I think she's in Toronto this week doing something or other. And there's Lieutenant William Leaf Robinson, the VC, the guy that shot down the Zeppelin, I think L-21 or something. And then Critical Pass Video of the Week. It's only about a minute long, and we'll see how bad the quality is again. If I find that it's so poor quality showing you guys through the YouTube here, I will go and shell out a couple of bucks and see if I can pump up the quality. So remember, I'm getting it free right now, which is they give it to you free. You know, I got to go through the whatever, send you know, a low res and a watermark or whatever. Not yet. It's coming. It's just I really want to do a proper job with the video thing. BGG Game of the Week: Distant Foreign Fields, Great War 1914-18 by Eric Grenier. Looks like the website, he's not around, like his Grenier Games is not around anymore. It seems like it was a desktop publishing game. You can get, it looks really good. We'll go hopefully take a look at it. And I want to see if you can get some used copies. I'm like, for flip and get it. Like $100, $80, that type of stuff. I'm like, no. World War I and World War I game-related news update. We'll go quickly, hopefully later on. Like I said, I'm trying to the here and there with World War I Association. They've got some news out. One of them is they mentioned is to go to the War Untold site by Andrew Ponce, and we'll maybe go and take a look quickly at that. Brian R. Smith says, I suspect Charles is correct. The Russian Revolution changed the direction of the entire 20th century. Cool. Thank you, guys. The news from the Western Front, and it's so weird, eh? It's just around the corner. Like, we're coming up, and it's like, I don't know sweet pea all about the Russian Civil War and all that stuff. Like, I don't even know if the Germans have sent Lenin on over yet, you know, on the train with a boatload of money or whatever. I don't know if that's happened yet, but, you know, all that's going to happen. I can't wait to see how the Globe is going to deal with that, with that stuff. And I'm going to also talk about quickly later, because we're going to see it in the war summary, and hopefully you guys can see it, is you can already see the Romanians are starting to get smacked around a bit. They're down in southern, when they went up in Transylvania and ignored their southern border, and now they've got Mackensen and whatnot coming up there. And you can already I can see it a bit in the articles there at the tail end of this week. It's like, and I'm like, how are they going to phrase this? Because earlier in the week, they're like, oh, Romania is doing fantastic. And when they combine with Russia, everybody's going to, you know, they're just going to flatten everybody. And I was like, Anyways, news from the Western Front Association. They've got some stuff out there. This is going to be really neat. It's next Friday evening at the Canadian War Museum. It's called Art Battle 2024. It's a bunch of artists, and it's the theme here is also about women in art and conflict and whatnot. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but maybe we'll go take a look. There's the Clark Commando 1983 thing. He posted, gave me a link very quickly, a German prisoner of war thing. All right, I popped this all in the sources and links. We never get to it anyways. The Doctrine and Command Philosophy of the BEF of 1914, World War I TV. This is I caught the tail end of it this week. This is from World War I TV. And they were doing a live stream, and this guy I've heard before. He's really good. He's a member of the Western Front Association, Phil Hudson or something like that. He is military. I'm not going to say ex-military because you can feel it. He's still military. The guy, like, he's saying that, I'm going to be doing doing a book on Douglas Haig. And he's like, we got to bring him in. He's a former Lancer. So, yeah, he's part of the Lancers or whatever. And he's like, we got to bring him into the fold type of thing. He was talking about and it was neat because, with my game and whatnot, I'm at this point now. I'm trying to figure out things about command and control and how things went about, and happened 3 times this week. I was like, whoa. So I got to listen to a bit of this. And then this one, I haven't watched it yet. I'm 3 minutes into it. And we're going to take a very quickly look. I lost my flippin' marbles when this popped up for one of my notifications this week. Innovation and learning in the Russian army, 1913, 1915. I went, are you kidding me? It's not just that, but I mean, I'm like, wicked is, and it made me put a little bit of a halt on going forward with my game due to the fact about entrenchment, because she's talking about, you know, the trenches are very different right now in this day and at this point in time. Doesn't get until after, she says, until like after the Great Retreat. That's when it starts looking a bit more like the Western Front style entrenchments. And I've always been wondering about that anyways, going forward with your Weltkrieg and so on and so forth. I'm like, are the trenches really like that already in 1915? I just don't have it. I don't know enough yet. But I was like, she's going to probably help me pop that in. Let's look at maps. I hope to God we do. I did a bazillion. Yes, Brian R. Smith, 100%. The Canadian War Museum is a stunning facility. It really is well done. And that used bookstore. Jeepers jumping. Anyways, I did a bazillion scans of maps. If we get to them, we get to them. And then, like I said, we'll go into this. Okay, let's I'll stop this for now. And then we'll go straight into popping in some banners for the who or what am I in World War One. And then I'll go back to this narrative and we'll take a look at what I can show you here. All right. So for anybody who's new, you even get a point just for guessing. So, and if you get it, you get 6 points. So there you go. I think this one's going to be all right. So your first clue is, I was born to a Quaker family in Iowa, yet I grew up in Oregon. Who am I? So there you go. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm going to go and take a look at, make sure I don't, let's go. Well, we'll try to do what I can here. As per usual, I hop and I was saying to Zoe Dufour last night, I'm like, problem is sometimes I don't want to be so structured or so into segments or whatever. It's that I feel dry, but then I get so unstructured, it turns into this kind of crazy rambling mess, which is not good. Meandering is General Mills. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And I'll pop in the second clue then. Might as well. Boink. And Meandering is Quaker Oats. Oh, I get you now. I had German, Swiss, and English ancestors. Who am I? All right, and this is the bit that I was going to show you about the innovation and learning in the Russian army. We're just going to go and take a look at, present the screen. Oops. Share the screen. It's this one. Yep. And I just thought it would be neat for you guys to see. Hold on, I want to make sure you see it full on. Is this picture? I mean, it was kind of what I thought was neat was, yet again, of course, not obviously combat effectiveness or how good your troops are. But this is just some kind of weird graphic that she found to show at the beginning of 1914, the relative strengths, the sizes of all the armies. And I just thought it was a neat graphic, and I thought I wanted to show it to you guys. So there you go. So there we go. Charles of Taurus Pershing, nice one, but you're incorrect. And especially that he's, as we know, in the news quite a bit right now. Okay, I'm going to pop in the third one. I worked in Australia and China for a London-based mining company. Who am I? All right, so I showed you that bit. Let me go back to my narrative so I don't go all over somewhat all over the place. So I did say that. Okay, let's go to the pinup gal and guy. William Harris, Kaiser Wilhelm. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. Hold your horses here. There, and I'll pop on another banner then. Hold on here. Okay, this one may get you. Brian R. Smith, Herbert Uber. How the hell did you do that? Well done. Holy smokes. Yep, you got it, man. How the hell did you get that? Wow. Nice one. So that was the next. Yeah, this I thought maybe somebody would get it now, but holy moly. That's 2 in a row. And I was saying this how we do for last night. It was the irony is I said I often because I was talking about the questions and so on and so forth. And I said, it's ironic. I said, sometimes when I go to say, hello to you guys, whatnot, before it starts off, I said, I often misspell Brian R. Smith's name. It starts off Brain because it's just the way I start typing. I always have to redo it. But I was like, 2 weeks in a row, he gets it. I'm like, well, maybe it's not, it's like a Freudian slip or something. But anyways, yeah, I organized the Commission for Relief in Belgium, which provided food to occupied Belgium. And then I'll show you the other bits. For my efforts throughout the Great War, I ended up being nicknamed the Food Czar. And as you probably guys know, I ended up becoming President of the United States, Herbert Uber. Well done. And I'm going to stop the screen and hold your horses here. I'm going to pop in. I think I have a picture of Herbert Hoover. I didn't know what he looked like. So there we go. There, Herbert Uber. There he is. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that now. And we'll go back to the, wow, that was fast. Holy smokes. And I can get rid of the banners now. So I'm going to quickly, no, that's a bit too self-indulgent, but yeah, I won't have to show you that. It was going to be about the games upstairs. But if we get to that at the tail end, let's get into the more important stuff, I think. Let's see here. So let's go to the BGG game of the week. Let's do that. I think I had the links in whatever. We didn't do the defensive van. Actually, let's do that very quickly. I'll take a look. Hold on here. I'm just going to pop it in the links. I haven't, like I said, I just read the wiki article very fast. And there we go. But it looked like it had a really interesting little map here. What does William Mayer say here? Oh, there we go. So hold on, I'm going to get it bigger. There. So it said the defensive van, and it said, well, you can see where it went when it occurred, and there's this other thing here that I was like, there's the Hamidian massacres or something, to look that up. But it was this bit here I thought was quite interesting to take a look at this map. I thought, probably could have some gaming potential at some point. Can I get out of here? How do I get out of here? Oh, I have to do this. Sorry. All right. So yeah, I obviously popped it in. Everybody can look it up, but it looks like it was at first, from what I'm gathering, the Armenians who are in charge were really trying to keep the populace like, don't piss the Ottomans off, man. Don't give them an excuse to crush us. And I guess that happened, kind of thing. And then you've also, anyways, it seems to that place, the city of Van or whatever, seems to have changed hands every 5 flipping seconds throughout the war. So it's that I found rather interesting. So there we go. We got that done. Let me get back to my narrative bits. Oh yeah, we said we'd go to the BGG game of the week. Hold on here. Where are my links? There. And did I pop you in like that? No, actually, what am I saying? We just go straight into BGG and it'll be there because I've got it. I just wanted to show it to you. It looks interesting. And I got to present. Hold on here. There. I'll get rid of me again. So there we go. Distant Foreign Fields, the Great War. And like I said, I love the counters. They look lovely. Yeah, you guys can see that pretty darn good. It's unfortunate. It seems, like I said, it looks like it's pretty darn difficult to get. But I like the look of it. I went to Noble Knight Games there this morning to go take a look, because it says they had one for sale. Because I wanted they had a lot more pictures or whatever, and I could blow them up or whatever, hover over. But I thought it was it's got some potential here. But yet again, it's not around anymore, I guess, unless it's got here 15 years ago. Distant Foreign Fields for the PC is now available. I don't want to play it on the PC, though, so that's that. Hold on here. Back to the narrative bits. Okay, we did that. We did that. Oh yeah, let's go to the critical past video, the thing, and see. I just find it really neat to see, because I mean, artillery pieces and all these things are just monstrous uh, objects, and I'm like, okay, now you need bigger objects to make these big objects, and it just, and the workplace safety I was saying before, just is, you're like, oh my god, not a good idea. So hold on, we'll see if this should work. Like I said, I'm hoping to goodness that it's going to be not too bad. All right. There. And like as you can say, it's not, it's, silent, but I wanted you guys to see this. Especially when I at the tail end, there's this guy sitting on this thing, and I guess it's like scraping metal, like making. I don't know. I don't understand the process, but I was just like, oh my god, all this, eh? Look at that. All that work. And remember, yeah, you were mentioning there, Charles Latour, about Thomas Edison mentioning that it takes years to make skilled workers. They're coming up to the guy sitting on it. I'm just like, oh my god! Look at this. That's insanity. Jesus, Murphy. Yeah, I guess it's scraping metal off, trying to make it. I don't know what, but that's it. All right, so I can stop sharing that. Cool. I get rid of that. You saw that bit. Yeah, you can. I don't think you're going to see anything funky on my, because they don't have a web version for this, but I wanted you guys to kind of see it quickly of what's going on here for the Historical Association. Yeah, okay, goody. You can see that. So here and there, well, like I said, they're going to have this coming up next week, which I'm really looking forward to attending. It's the monuments of Alabama's World War I soldiers. They also mentioned down here that, and what a gorgeous looking, I don't know if that reminds you of like those Greek or Roman things you see, like, the marble bits, but this is that, I guess, the unveiling of this beautiful bronze thing that's going on at the World War I Museum and Memorial. So that would be really neat to go and see. It's about, oh yeah, this guy's website. Yes, we can proceed. And boink, there, you can see it. All right. Yep. So this is it. I just went to, like, I just popped his website link in. I haven't even gone around to see what it's all about. But stories, Western Front then and now. Photos from the Gap battlegrounds. Let's see. Oh, I see what he's doing. Neat. Okay. Oh, that's this thing I've heard about where it's got the searchlights or something that goes on at night. The big BERTHA thing. Oh yeah, Harro Bosma is here about that. And yet again, Harro Bosma. It's fascinating. When I was reading that book there, Pursuit of Glory, at the very end, about how much the French didn't learn, or from it. From that thing, and they almost like went backwards again, and they thought, oh, fortresses and whatnot are going to be great, and they start building the Maginot Line and so on and so forth, and we knew what happens there later on. World War II. Hold on, let me get to my narrative. So okay, we're 28 minutes, but I got to make sure we get to your stuff. We did show you that. I did show you that. I want to quickly, okay, I did that bit. Yeah, let's go to the that Facebook thing, the German prisoner of war, Clark Commando, 1983, and then we're going to go to your stuff, William Aarons. I want to take a look at your pictures because there's an awful lot of them, and I want to make sure that we don't miss them. So I was surprised I was able to see this due to the fact that I'm not a member of Facebook, but it let me do it. I was really happy. So there you go, Clark Commando, 1983. You guys sent me this link. Colorized bit of a German prisoner of war. Just thought maybe you guys want to take a look at it as well. Charles Sartorius' laser are remarkable machines. Okay, so that's what it was. They can literally clone themselves. Whoa, trippy. So, okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this. You don't need to see it anymore. Pop that there. Now we're gonna go to your pictures, William Aarons. I think that makes sense. And then we can go to your thing. Brian R. Smith says World War I monuments seem like they're generally very big and imposing structures. Yes. Another thing, I've never been over there, but I thought also I remember reading something about the differences between as well, how like French and Belgian cemeteries are set up, and you know the American ones or the Canadian and so on and so forth. I thought it was very different approaches to the way they set them up. I thought that was kind of neat to find out about. Okay, so what did I say I wanted to do is show you your pictures. Okay. And a bit of the book reviews thing. So how about we're going to go zippity dip very quickly here. That makes more sense. So yeah, okay, hold on here. This is from the back issue of, hold on here. I'm going to pop it in here. Maybe you guys want to take a look at this. I can make me here, I think. That's not too bad. Oh, goody. And you guys can see that. Yeah, it's just the back cover. They have these things for the World War I Illustrated, the ones that Clark Commando 1983 sent me. I thought it was kind of neat. Is that, so here you go. Well, I did Germany. I'm not going to read the whole bloody thing. But maybe I'll post it on the community tab. So that way, if you guys wanted to take a look. So that was that. And then here again, I'm going to go to, hold on, I want to get to, this is, they do book reviews at the back end of the magazine as well. I thought, well, I might as well share them with you, for goodness sakes. We're all a bunch of book freaks. Harro Bosma, yes, they are. Ypres and Verdun are massive. Oh, that's right. You've been there. You were saying that it was pretty darn grim. I have not read these. I just, like I said, I just wanted to share these with you. That they mention these books, and if you guys are interested in grabbing some more books, for goodness sakes, there you go. And this one looked really neat. The Lost Sketchbooks, A Young Artist in the Great War. Look at that. Impressive. And Dana Lombardi, there we go again. Okay, and then this one, hold on here, is from the Nebula podcast, Real-Time History. I wanted to listen again to the podcast of Konrad von Hotzendorf, and this guy's got this book out. Harro Bosma, since you obviously can read that, you could probably go get it. I don't know if there's an English version of this. I would love to get it if there was. William Aaron says, I have to send you pictures of the Kitchener sun attack. Yes, that would be wicked. So, okay, we did that one. Oh, yeah, well, it is self-indulgent land, I guess, a little bit. So this is a Europa map. I picked these up ages ago at a thrift store, and I thought, hell with it. I'm going to play with my little CRT and whatnot. So this is just a hypothetical thingamabob, which is the Greeks versus the Italians trying to take over take out enough. We want Albania all to ourselves. So I've just been having a bit of fun with that. There you can see my CRT and whatnot, and using my lazy general. The only other thing too is I'm super duper happy Zoe Dufour did show up, and I started talking about this, and I was like, oh, I got to go get some picture frames. Think about 11 by 17 to do a better job with my doppelganger thing and doppeldecker thing, because I was like, oh, the plexiglass won't work, it'll bend. But I was like, wait a minute, let's give it a shot and see. So I'm leaving the plexiglass up there. I know they're not great shots, and like I said, I want to do at the very bottom there. I'm going to have like actual hex, so I could change up the terrain at the bottom for the ground thing, give it a lot more perspective too. But I think I can get 4 8.5 by 11s. Transparencies with the hexes put on the plexiglass, and that'll be a lot cheaper alternative. I think it may work. I'll just maybe put supports here if I do notice they're starting to bow a bit, but I don't think so. Okay, so we've done that. I think that's the end of the yep, we did that. Okay, I forgot to show you the pinup gal. Hold on. Yeah, and the guy. That's not fair. Since I've been ages. So she's like I said, she was a soprano singer and super popular. I think she did a fair amount of work. Maybe this is going to have to be a fact-checking thing. She did, I think, a fair amount of work for the war effort. Maybe that's why she wasn't in Toronto at the time. I don't really know. And this is the guy, Lieutenant. Oh darn it! What's his name? Well, I've got it here somewhere. Hold on here. I must have to have it. Lieutenant William Leaf Robinson, VC. So that's the guy that shot down the Zeppelin. And this is the neato thing, Charles Zatora, which, how the heck am I going to get to it? Oh, I know how we do it. We go to his Wikipedia thing. And I went, when you showed me the cover for Zeppelin Raider, I went, wait a flipping minute. I think I've seen this before. Uh-huh. It was used back then for his thing as part of the propaganda. So hold on, I'm going to stop the screen again and put it in a new thing. But I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. There's Charles Latour's thingamabob. So, oops. I almost had you. There we go. Right on. And I'll get rid of me so you guys can see it better. And then we're really going to go to your stuff, Charles. Look, William Aarons. So there's your picture there. I'm pretty darn sure. Isn't that the cover of your game, Zeppelin Raiders? Anyways, this is it, where they were using it as propaganda way back when. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, he does look like a cool dude. So anyways, we got that, and now we're going to go to your pictures. All right. Hold on here. Williams picks, and there's a bunch of them. 36. But William Aarons, you know what's so cool is a lot of them are, well, submarine related, and I'm like super duper happy because I've wanted to be bringing these up. The submarines often, especially with my game. When I saw that picture, oh, I'm not even showing you guys again. When I saw that picture of a coastal submarine, and then I started reading up about more of them, and even like a bit beforehand with the British, they had one called the Holland or something like that. It looks like it's just small crew, obviously a small size, and you can't do a hell of a lot. Hold on, I'm going to go to display options and put them into the width. So that way we can go here. Thanks a lot for this one, William Aarons, because yet again, remember I was mentioning I wanted to get, is it this? That makes this not too bad. Okay, goody two shoes. Okay. Is that I wanted to get a bit better pictures of that and whatnot for us, because we're talking about this every freaking 5 seconds. We're going to be talking about this place until December, for God's sakes. I want to see where all these places are and try to get them a bit more into context. So thanks a lot. Now I'm going to be able to study this a bit more later, and that'll be nice to see. Look at that, all these places we keep hearing about. Mametz Wood, there's Throne Wood there, Guillemont, Ganchy. So this would be nice. Yet again, I haven't done it yet. But I want to, like I said before, it's just because StreamYard is such a pain in the ass in some ways. But I want to have the war summary text with these images off to the side. So when we're talking about all these things, it's not just some, another place. And there's Pozier there. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, okay, now I can see where you are, kind of thing. So thanks a lot, William Aarons. Thank you so much, man. British 4th Army Zone of Operations in the Somme offensive. And where are we now? Let's see. Oh, didn't see that bit. Look at this. What the hell kind of gun is that? Jesus H. Christ. What the hell do you shoot with that thing? Like, ay. But it says a captured German gun is shown here as a war prize for some British troops who are all smiles as a result. What kind of caliber? I don't know. Like, I'm not a gun person, so I don't know what kind of. That just looks brutal. And like I said, it certainly doesn't look like it doesn't look like you walk around with that. The Battle of Verdun, there we are again. Thanks again. We can maybe pop it up. I know, William Aarons, I haven't read your thing yet, but you were mentioning that, sorry about the many of the pages are like, curved or whatever. I've said before, and I'm going to say this again. I am so grateful for what you do. So you send me anything, I'm happier than hell. No problem there. Look at all that. Jesus H, eh? Look at all are those buses? Yep. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Oh, not Paris. Cool. I don't know what that says, Harro Bosma. You'd know, and maybe so would you as well, William Aarons. Whatever the heck that says. There's another picture of them there. Something Boulevard. Oh no. Oh, and now we got a real big Bertha, which they've been using extensively, as far as I know, at Verdun. And well, here we are. Let's read it. German 42 centimeter big Bertha howitzer of the type used to bombard Liège in August 1914. See you in Paris. Thanks, man. Harro Bosma, awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that at the tail end, or I think even right now, so it's not at the tail end of Verdun. Of course, we now know it's switched around in that the German offensive's over. They're now like pulling back and trying to find better defensible areas. Except the French haven't finished. You know what I mean? It's now their big counterattack bit. William says to Paris until we meet on the boulevard. Thank you, man. Look at the size of this, and it was interesting to find out now that the French have got even bigger guns than the big Berthas are now just coming in, and that kind of shocked, I think, the Germans into this. This was neat to see. What does it say? A quick-firing field guns in action in 1914. The barrel of the gun nearest the camera is at full recoil. Okay, like I said, we got a lot of pictures to go through. This freaked me out. Some of these guys look, but like I'm like, what is this like? Is this picture like distorted or something? Meandering is probably a Buer 98 sniper rifle. Thanks. It is a horrible looking weapon. I don't know about you, but I was just like, whoa. Yeah, that makes sense. A big long thing, like you would just maybe need that for the range, I guess. But doesn't that kind of like he looks like he's he's shrunk or something? It just this guy looks enormous. It just looks weird. And there we got the Schlieffen plan. Thanks a lot. Another beautiful, wicked shot. Thanks again, man. Oh my gosh, is that bit of the Plan 17 as well? Cool. And I guess it came from this book, The War to End All Wars. Yeah, I'm just showing it in width mode, and we'll go from there and see if it's the best. And now we're into the subs. And it's neat to see all the different shapes. Well, obviously, they're going to be tubish, but you know what I mean? Like all, and I didn't even know this could happen, where the guy says that before submerging or whatever, they collapse these turrets or the smokestack things. And I was like, what? I didn't even know you could do those. Like, yeah, here it is. Demonstrates folding or funnels necessary before diving. I didn't even know that could happen. Or well, obviously, I don't know anything about this stuff, but fascinating to see these bits. Oh yeah, that was yet again. I wanted to go about the coastal subs. And now I went, wait a minute. Remember way back when we found out about that the Germans had railed 4 submarines into the Black Sea. And I was like, huh? Like this is way back when. And then I went, oh my God, when we were reading up on the coastal submarines, and they said that these coastal submarines were small enough to be carried by rail. I went, probably that's what they sent over into the Black Sea, which I thought was kind of neat. But I'm thinking from a strategic point of view, like in a gaming thing for something like Der Weltkrieg, and you're going to play the Grand Campaign. I'd like to start developing a ton of coastal subs and start using my rail network like a maniac and start putting submarines here, there, and everywhere. That'd be interesting. At least I think it would be. That's where my brain's going at. German class cargo carriers. So that's even post Deutschland. But look at this. Like it's just ginormous. I didn't even know these yet things existed as well. Wow. There we go. I guess that must be another shot at like an actual shot. Below seen here under modification is U-151 was the first of the class requiring modification for an attack role. I guess changing from the merchant marine thing. I know they do that to the Deutschland. It's kind of sad. There's the coastal submarines I was mentioning, and they would be really neat. And pretty quick. I was surprised. There's something like 8-9 yachts, man. I think submerged. Don't get me into that. Let's stay away from this. I'm going to start getting into fact checking for sure. E3 had the dubious distinction of being the first submarine to be destroyed in action by an enemy submersible. And that's a British coastal sub, I do believe. I'm not sure if it's the on the scale of the Hollands or whatever. The war at sea brought new demands on submarine designers. Combat experience stressed the need for more robust boats with greater endurance, as well as specialized submarine hunters and mine layers. Germany also experimented unsuccessfully with transports in a vain attempt to beat the naval blockade that was strangling her raw material supply lines. 100%. What an interesting thing. And there's the other thing, yet again, about going away from that book here. This a person was saying in this one here, the secondary source thing they were saying, and the author there, well, not the author, the person who does the introduction there, Hugh Strachan, was mentioning that he's like, Germany was very operationally focused, and that was their problem, and so on and so forth. They just kept going down the operational approach. I'm like, well, maybe not. If you start reading about like the intrigues and that, trying to get, for example, Lenin to cause a bunch of crazy nonsense in Russia, or trying to skirt the naval blockade via getting into merchant subs, and yet again, more intrigues, trying to get India to rebel. I think it was even a quote. The Kaiser said one of the things is one of the main aims is to make sure that England does not, Britain does not retain India. That type of stuff. That to me doesn't sound very operationally focused. They were obviously thinking of other ways of getting around, or you think about even trying to cause grief with Mexico and the United States. So there you go. So obviously it wasn't just that way, which is neat. The Ocean Hunter. What a freaky weird name, but I guess it's going after the ships. I don't know, but you guys, it seems a bit odd. For me, from a strategic point of view, wouldn't you think it would be maybe a better idea to wait for where the ships start to congregate in the ship lanes rather than trying to go get them way out in the middle of nowhere, especially when you don't have radar and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. But anyway, so there we go. The coastal submarine. I love you. Love you, coastal submarine. Look at that thing. Look at that. You can't really see, but it's just a lovely concept as far as I'm concerned. And there, the D-class overseas service submarines. And yet again, remember to find out that at the beginning of the war, Great Britain had way more submarines than Germany did. There's another one. That must be another coastal submarine. Look at that thing. Yeah. I'm sure they weren't great to be in, but like I said, from an operational strategic point of view, I think they're a great idea. Strategic role of submarines remain. William Harris says, think of you are showing the pictures in reverse order as I sent them. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. It's the way I downloaded them. Sorry. And well, maybe we can watch the video. We can watch the live stream backwards someday. Tolemykus says underwater coffins. Yeah. Oh my God. Especially with all the gas and what was it? The batteries. I think were also giving off fumes that were could kill you. The strategic role of submarines remained, like when the salt water got on them or something, remained a matter of debate within Western navies in the years leading up to the First World War. Boats were used mainly for coastal and harbor defense by both the U.S. and Royal Navies. Germany had plans for more significant deployment with the design and construction of the Ocean Hunter, U-19, from 1912 onwards. Although the Royal Navy evolved, I see what you mean by getting them backwards. Makes sense. Now we're getting, I get you. Well, we'll pretend it's a footnote. Evolved the D-class overseas service submarine, which had a wartime role in the support of the Grand Fleet. And there's the World at War book. Stalemate, the real story of trench warfare. That, when I read that little bit there, the subtitle, I went, this. Thank you for bringing this book up, William Aarons, because I want to go and see if I can find a used copy. And there's the. Do I have this? No, we've saw this one before. Here's the Jones, your submarine war beneath the wave thing, and another picture. And this is down in the garden. Oh, I think actually get another better shot of it. Oh yeah, there's you've also picked this up, Russia's Last Gasp, the third of Butar's books about Russia in there. This is another. Oh, that's the thing you mentioned there, Hitler's First War by Thomas Weber. That's it, and that's it. Excellent. Now we can go to your ATA. No, we're gonna do. Oh my God, 10 minutes. We'll go to the week that was and break it up with your ATA because it's like too close. Like I said before, with the after hours thingamajig. So let's remember all that gobbledygook I mentioned but didn't talk about. It's in the sources and links if you want to go and find out a bit more about it. Okay, so let me go and grab the week, and then we'll present that. On a side note, am I cluing in so much more? I was saying to Zoe Dufour yesterday, if I can get the war summary read out before Friday, boy, do I ever have a better Friday, because I get to focus a lot more on the show, even though you may not believe it because it seems so rambly or whatever. But it's just such a thing to get out of the way. It's a lot. I love doing it, but it's in a way. I mean, I don't love doing it actually. I love having it done. But it's 40 minutes of talking, for God's sakes, from really bad text. It's like, holy Jesus. Okay, here we go. September 1st to September 7th, 1916. September 1st, and that's why I said even for this bit, I would be nice to but I can't. The way StreamYard is, I have to get into some weird bits, but we'll figure it out. I have maybe another camera, and I have to have it overhead, you know what I mean, like this, and then I just move the pages over or something so we can see the maps. Along the Somme front, 4 German attacks fail in High Wood. The Romanians capture Hermannstadt. Russian advance successful in Volhynia. Bulgars in possession of 17 Greek forts. Chormuk in the northern Euphrates captured by Russians. 25 bombs dropped on Port Said. Naval demonstration of the Allied fleet in Athens. New York value of the German mark is down 30%. And remember, we just found out 2 weeks ago that the business people and whatnot in the United States basically called in their chips or whatever and said, or hedging their bets and saying, no, the Central Powers are going to lose. And next thing you know, they're lending money hand over fist to Russia, Great Britain, France, and then the mark goes down 30%. I don't think that's a coincidence. New York, Bulgaria declares war on Romania, September 2nd. Allies demand control of posts and telegraphs in Greece. Holy F, incredible. It's amazing. It just blows me away. And I'm going to have to post it. I've got their demands. And same as the demands that Japan send out towards China this week because of a little brouhaha that went off in Manchuria or Mongolia or whatever. And it sounds, both of them are so close sounding to Austria-Hungary's demands on Serbia. I went, it was interesting. Remember, I'm not biased or whatever. I'm just always trying to, I don't know, maybe I always look at the underdog or whatever. 3 German vessels seized at Piraeus by the Allies. Greek arsenal wireless is seized. The Russians crossed the Danube into the Dobruja. British drop bombs on shipbuilding yards in Hoboken near Antwerp. 3rd of December, Ginchy and Guillemont captured by the British with many prisoners reportedly taken. We saw where they were, but I'd like to see them while we're talking about it. Le Forêt village, Clary-sur-Saône, and German trenches are taken by the French. 13 airships raid English eastern counties with 1 Zeppelin brought down at Cuffley, Essex. Like I said, we were talking about the guy with the incendiary bullets. It crashed. Souvenirs left, right, and center. They found it fascinating. There was a lot of wood seemed to be taking in place the aluminum. So they were like, the Germans are feeling the bite. British defeat Prussian Guard attack at Thipval near Orsova on the Danube. Austrians withdraw to the west bank of the Cherna. The Dobruja, entered by German and Bulgarian troops. Russians close to Zlota Lipa capture the position near Brzazny, taking many prisoners. Russian success near Dorna Vatra in the Carpathians. Constanza, Romania is bombed. As a side note, I'm really glad I am doing trying to do the Weltkrieg Romania thing upstairs, because I'd like to maybe get a little bit that way, and we can kind of compare it when Paul Hederer pops up. I have to go and figure out a date, maybe in the next couple of weeks. British Naval Air Squadron attack on German positions in J Sta, 5 miles southeast of Ostend. Dar es Salaam, capital of German East Africa, surrenders to British naval forces. 4th of September, Athens report that King Constantine will reconsider the attitude of Greece. The Greek government accepts the 3 demands of the English-French vote. We will get to your thing, William Ernst. I can guarantee you, flippant for sure. I will go way past noon for that. There's no way I'm missing your grandfather's stuff. Like I'd even stop this ahead of time, or I should just shut up and go. South of River Elan, west of Trebizond, Russian offensive continues with over 500 prisoners taken. Southwest of Lake Nimrud, west of Lake Van, British armored cars engaged Kurdish forces. Zlota Lipa front, General Brosilov's troops are successful, taking 19,000 prisoners within 4 days. Unsuccessful German gas attacks near Baranovici. French offensive continues along the Somme from Balois to south of Cholne with many prisoners taken. French take the village of Chile, which I thought was kind of neat. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. 5th of September, east of Guillemont, Allied line is carried forward 1,500 yards. Allies hold most of the Luz Wood and whole of German second line on the Somme. 7 miles southeast of Helis, Russians claim success with many prisoners taken. Polish autonomy is granted by the Central Powers. In the Dolomites, operations now developing with the whole of Val Sismoni is free. Bucharest is bombed by the Bulgars. British bomb Turkish aerodrome at El Arish, 19 miles east of Port Said. Mr. Balfour at Glasgow appeals to local trade unions regarding shipyard labor. The Trade Union Congress at Birmingham rejects the invitation of U.S. Federation of Labor regarding terms of peace. The 6th of September, British gain the entire Luz Wood in the Somme, southwest of Balois and south of Beloy. General von Stein and Kirkbach make 10 attempts against the French, all beaten back by the 75s and these 105s. Capture of Guillemont and advance to Ginchy is completed. Mazar and the Sinai Peninsula, British airmen raid the camps, supply depots, and camel lines with good results. British are checked north of Kazaki in the Uluguru Mountains. Trade Union Congress insists on the restoration of trade union customs and practices after the war. Members, New Zealand was getting told by Great Britain, you better smarten up and bring more people in. And surprise, surprise, New Zealand passes the compulsory military service bill. Viceroy's important speech regarding the supply of labor to the colonies in regard of India's greatest services during the war. 7th of September, Baron von Schneck and other Germans and Austrians are expelled from Athens. Kilwa, 135 miles south of Dar es Salaam, and Kilwa Kisawani surrender to British naval forces. The Baghdad Railway over the Taurus Mountains is being constructed by the Turkish peasants, which I thought was neat. Large bodies of Turkish troops are moving to Aleppo from Mesopotamia. Can't forget it, on the Danube, southeast of Bucharest, is captured by the Bulgars, claiming 20,000 prisoners and 100 guns. Helis is on fire and is taken by the Russians. Orsova on the Austrian bank of the Danube is occupied by the Romanians. That's it. Now we got to get to your ATA. Perfect. Translator's note, disaster struck as I was just about to finish a long translated article when it suddenly got highlighted and the next thing I touched destroyed my work. Oh, you poor thing. Perhaps, and poor us, perhaps this is a blessing in disguise, since I will now have to retype the whole thing and send it to you with enough time for you to digest it. Cool. Here's another for next week. Here's another story of my grandfather, Karl Retberg, during the years of the Great War while he was in New York City. Again, thank you, William Aarons, for sharing these types of things. This is the last World War I related story of my grandfather during his early years in New York City. At one of the places he worked, my grandfather had to answer a call of nature during the workday. While at the urinal, he suddenly noticed a large black man next to him who evidently knew that my grandfather was German. Thus, the African man must have felt free to say to the young Karl Retberg, Ja, der Kaiser Wilhelm will just, I'm not going to say the rest because I can't. In English, yes, the Kaiser Wilhelm now will smash all of the enemies. He then told my grandfather that he was an immigrant from German East Africa. So cool. Present day Namibia. My grandfather was never progressive concerning race relations, but he never forgot the impression that the African from a German colony left on him. It has been reported that the Germans, the Germans did a relatively decent job of educating the Africans that fell under the control. I think a lot of that William Aarons had to do afterwards with them because they didn't do a very good job at the very beginning. I think like back in 1905 or 1906, they were very harsh on the native peoples, calls of genocide and so on and so forth. There was a lot of forced starvation, and I think the Germans clued in afterwards and went, okay, we can't. This is not the way to go about things if we want to get. And look what ends up happening later on with, like you see, the loyalty with the Askari and so on and so forth. So bang on, man. And that's it. Now we can go. I'm going to stop the screen, which is kind of awesome. We're only 1 minute off. That's perfect because we're about to go to the after hours thingamajig. Just let me get to it. And we'll say this again. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. I think it's wonderful. I get to share an hour with you guys and a little bit more now with the after hours. I hope you have a good remainder of your week. Good week to you as well. Brian R. Smith says the extensive effort and prep you do for this show each week is very evident and greatly appreciated. Oh, wow, man. Thanks. So it doesn't seem like that when I'm watching or doing it. I'm like, oh, my God, I must sound like a freaking whatever. But we're going to get going. We're going to do. Thank you as well, Meandering Mike. Okay, so I'm going to present the screen. Hold on. I got to pop it on here. And then after this, like I said, I'm going to go and watch that Western Front Association lecture. I'm just like biting at the bit, especially 3 minutes in, for goodness sakes. And she's like talking about how different it is. And I went, oh my God, you're going to help me so much with my game. It's not funny. Harro Bosma, thank you. I hope you as well have a wicked week. And you lucky devil, you get to read that book there on Conrad von Holzendorf. Hold on here. Let me get to the YouTube thing of Jake. And I'll slap that puppy in. I didn't even check to see if it works. It should. Well, Tolemykus, you're pretty damn good at telling me if it's not in there. So hold on here. I can now present. Oops. Not that one. Well, I've recently received Crisis 1914 and Mike Lambo's Vimy Ridge games. Really, William Aarons, I'm going to pop this on. Oh, my gosh. I want to find out more about that for bloody sure. Hold on here. Let me. Oops. Okay, I've got it on number 88. Oh, wow, William Aarons. Nice one, man. I want to find out a bit more. That's that. I think Crisis 1914 is that. Man, Mike actually took a course with that guy, a game design course, I do believe. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm pretty darn sure he did. Okay, so hold on here. I'm going to present the screen. And like I said, I'm going to vanish voice-wise. I just turned into text person. So. And they're going to get rid of me entirely. Okay, see you later. Hope you have a good one. For live stream 88, the war summary for September 1st to the 7th of September 1916. The general in command of the Russian army, now traversing Romania en route to the Bulgarian front, has arrived at Bucharest and has been received with enthusiasm by the populace. It would appear that the attack upon the Bulgars is to be undertaken largely by Russian troops, while the Romanians tackle the Austrians in Transylvania. The Slav drive into Bulgaria is to be directed from the town of Gheorghivo on the north side of the Danube opposite Rushtek, which is already said to have been occupied by the Allies. At Gheorghivo, the Romanian state railway system connects with two of the most important lines in Bulgaria, one leading to the coast of Varna, the other proceeding through Turnovo and Plevna to Sofia, the Bulgarian capital. The holding of both sides of the Danube at Gheorghivo is of the utmost importance to the security of the Allied forces that strike southward into the Balkans. The Russians are advancing across the Dobruja, also with the object of attacking Varna. It is reported in a Reuter dispatch from Petrograd that Russian warships have arrived at Constanza, a Romanian port on the Black Sea, which will be used as the coastal base until Varna is taken. Russian troops are already on the move across the Dobruja. They will be but a day's march from Varna when they arrive at the Bulgarian front border. While Russia makes final preparations to punish Bulgaria for her treacherous attack on Serbia a year ago, the Romanians are rapidly occupying eastern Transylvania. Dispatches from Vienna and Berlin profess that the withdrawal of the Austrian troops is voluntary and in accordance with the prearranged plans. Where the Austrians have elected to make a stand in the mountains, Berlin says that they have repulsed the Romanian attacks. This comforting news is accompanied by an admission that the enemy is well into the interior of Transylvania, and that the Austrians have fallen back to the west of Szirda, the most important railway center of northeastern Transylvania, which lies almost 50 miles north of Kronstadt and 30 miles within the frontier. An even more remarkable admission is that Romanian attacks are being delivered 15 miles north of Orsorva, near the iron gates of the Danube. These, if successful, will give the Romanians access to the plains of Hungary far to the west of the Transylvanian Alps, and will imperil all the Austrian forces remaining in Transylvania. It seems probable that the Austrians are concentrating on defensive lines along the Maros River. Their retirement will increase Romania's transport difficulties, for the railways are few and must perforce follow the river courses, leaving great stretches of intervening territory unserved and almost inaccessible. It must not be forgotten, however, that the inhabitants of eastern Transylvania are chiefly of Romanian blood and will welcome the invaders as deliverers. The lines of communication can be maintained much more easily under these conditions than they could were the Romanians operating in a hostile country. Russia apparently anticipates a naval attack in force upon the capital. The way to Petrograd lies through the Gulf of Finland, and it is believed that in the present critical condition of things on the Eastern Front, the Germans may be disposed to risk their fleet in an attack on Kronstadt and Petrograd. The political effect of the shelling of Russia's capital by a German fleet would be considerable, but the expedition might prove disastrous to the German Navy, for British and Russian submarines are exceedingly active in the Baltic. There is little infantry activity on the Western Front, but the guns on both sides are in vigorous action on various sections of the battle line. The French Midnight Report tells of a small gain south of Estrée near the Somme. The British report tells of an unsuccessful German attempt to attack at High Wood, which was stopped by British machine gun fire when the Germans left their trenches. It is announced that with the 124 men of a Bavarian regiment who surrendered in a body on Wednesday, there were no less than 8 officers. This voluntary surrender of hard-fighting soldiers like the Bavarians is referred to in General Haig's report as interesting. It is more than interesting. It is highly significant. The German troops are tiring of what they must prove a losing fight. Dispatches from Athens are still heavily censored, and the world knows little of what is happening there. The party of Venizelos is still trying to carry the king with it into the camp of the Allies, but at an early hour this morning, no decision had been announced. London speaks confidently of the early entrance of Greeks into the war and states that Greek officers are being called back from leave and preliminary steps for a campaign taken. The presence of a Greek prince in London as a guest of King George is evidence that Constantine is beginning to hedge. The fighting of an unofficial sort between the Greeks and Bulgars in the Kavala region has died down, and military activity all along the Salonika front is lessening. The Allies there are waiting, no doubt, to launch their offensive simultaneously with the Russian attack upon northern Bulgaria. Events in the Eastern theater of war move with a swing that is in remarkable contrast to the apparent deadlock in the West. The Russians, pressing toward Lemberg from the southeast, have won a great victory along the Dniester. They have captured 289 officers and 15,500 men, of whom 2,400 were Germans, and have forced the army of von Bothmer to give ground. The Berlin official report, speaking of this part of the front, says, "We had to give way a little before the pressure of the enemy." Fierce fighting continues according to both Petrograd and Berlin. A little farther south in the Carpathians, the Russians have captured a whole series of heights, and in conjunction with the Romanians are hunting the remnants of the Austrian army of Bukovina through the pass of Kirli-Baba and other mountain defiles into Hungary. On the Transylvanian front, the Romanians are occupying the richest and most populous parts of their promised land, but with trifling losses, the Austrians retiring for them as they advance. In the Balkans, the changes are kaleidoscopic in their variety and unexpectedness. The Italians, striking inland from Avlona, their base on the Albanian coast, up the valley of the Vojusa, have occupied the town of Tepelini, 31 miles from the sea and about 35 miles north of the Greek border. The town was evacuated by its Greek garrison, but the Austrians on the Vojusa put up a stiff fight, and a number of them were captured. The Italians and Albanians under Esad Pasha evidently intend to link up their forces with the Serbs in the region of Lake Prešpa, and thus form a continuous allied front from the Adriatic to the Struma River east of Salonika. From Athens come many wild rumors, among which stands out the one solid fact that an allied fleet consisting of 23 warships and 7 transports has arrived off Piraeus, the port of Athens. If Constantine has not yet evacuated or scuttled out, the allied fleet will hasten his departure. The Greeks are in rebellion against his authority throughout Macedonia, and particularly in the regions east of Salonika, recently overrun by the Bulgars. The Greek army at first seemed disposed to stand by the pro-German officers of the higher ranks, and there was danger of civil war even in Salonika itself, until General Sarai intervened and prevented hostilities. When the situation becomes clarified, it will be found that Greece, under control of Venizelos, has joined the Allies and has begun to take vigorous steps to drive the Bulgars from Greek soil. It is reported from various quarters that the Bulgarian army is not waiting to be expelled from Greece, but has already begun to retire from the region south of Monastir, as well as from the valley of the Struma. There is every evidence that the strength of the Allies in the Balkans is enormously greater than that of the Bulgars and Teutons, even when aided by the Turks, and that General Sarai is getting ready for a drive that will have results no less spectacular than the sweep of Macedon across Serbia last fall. Although at the moment the center of interest is in the east of Europe, it must not be forgotten that the final decision must be reached on the Western Front, where the best troops and the greatest armies of both the Allies and the Central Powers are massed. On a front of less than 500 miles from the North Sea to the Swiss border, the Germans have 121 infantry divisions and 1 cavalry division, while of those no fewer than 59 are active divisions. That is to say, the French and British have in front of them nearly 2/3 of the German army in the field, and many of these troops are the pick of the enemy's available forces. On the Eastern Front, the German forces consist of 53 infantry divisions and 10 cavalry divisions. And of these, only 18 are active divisions. To this force must be added the Austro-Hungarian troops, which are certainly of inferior fighting value. They consist of 47 infantry divisions and 11 cavalry divisions. The 2.5 million Germans on the Western Front are the Grand Army of the Napoleon of Potsdam. Not till this host is driven from its trenches and beaten in the field will the Allies be sure of a decisive victory. Another marked advance of the British and French forces in the region north of the Somme is recorded in dispatches received last night. The villages of Cléry and Le Forêt have been captured by the French, together with all the German positions between these 2 points. The attack followed intense artillery preparation, and the result has been not only the taking of immensely important positions, but of more than 2,000 prisoners, as well as 12 guns and 50 machine guns. Cléry lies near the north bank of the Somme, close to the point at which the river Tortille joins it. No other place of importance remains to be taken until Péronne itself is reached. The village of Le Forêt lies nearly due east of Maurepas, and its capture will almost inevitably force the Germans to evacuate the town of Commes. The bulk of the fighting on the Somme front has been done lately along the northern portion of the British lines. This blow has been struck on a part of the front where for some time there's been comparative inactivity. The concentration of guns necessary to obtain great artillery superiority was evidently made in haste during the foggy weather of the last few days. When the fog disappeared, the artillery duel began, and the result has been a very serious blow to the German defenses. Berlin reported on Sunday morning that the artillery battle in the Somme district has reached the highest intensity, and spoke of the breakdown of French attacks on Saturday night between Maurepas and Cléry. These attacks were evidently preliminary to the main assault delivered yesterday. Sir Douglas Haig reports that the British, on their part of the front, captured part of the village of Gauchy and the whole of Guillemont, and took several hundred prisoners. The British line runs some 500 yards east of Guillemont, from Gauchy to near Fulfilmont Farm. The Germans fiercely counterattacked all along the line, but up to an early hour this morning, there had been no recession of the Allied front. The victory is the most important since the capture of the German second-line positions on the 14th of July. Not only on the Somme, but on the Verdun front, the Allies have gained ground. French troops in this neighborhood of the village of Fleury have driven back the Germans and captured 500 prisoners. There is no longer any pretense on the part of the Germans that they are conducting an offensive in front of Verdun. The initiative has been passed from them to the army of General Nivelle, and the progress is no longer towards the citadel of Verdun, but towards the headquarters of the Crown Prince. In a great Zeppelin raid over the eastern counties of England on Saturday night, 13 German airships took part. The attack was the most formidable ever made on British soil by the Germans, and the result was entirely disappointing to the enemy. The casualties so far reported consist of the death of 1 man and 1 woman, and the injuring of 11 men and women and 2 children. 3 of the Zeppelins, which approached the outskirts of London, were subjected to severe fire from anti-aircraft guns and airplanes, and 1 of the Raiders was brought down. I'm just going to say on a side note, I think it was the first use of incendiary bullets by an airplane. That's what nailed it. The Zeppelin was destroyed by fire, and the engines and half-burned bodies of the crew were found at Copley near Enfield. The large amount of wood employed in the making of the frame of this Zeppelin is believed to be to point to a shortage of aluminum in Germany. The list of dead and injured victims of the raid may be increased, but London regards it, despite the number of ships engaged and the number of bombs dropped, as a distinct failure. The wreck of the Zeppelin, which was destroyed, drew immense crowds from London and the suburban regions yesterday, and supposedly they took tons of souvenirs. The 2 most important items of news from the Romanian front are that the Romanian forces in the neighborhood of Orsova on the Danube have, after 5 days fighting, driven the Austrian troops from the west bank of the Cerna River, and that in the Dobruja, the Germans and Bulgarians have crossed the frontier into Romania and have driven back the Romanian advance guard. This means that the Romanians are driving westward from their own frontier along the Danube in the hope of cutting the Orient Railway, which, crossing the river at Belgrade, traverses Serbia and Bulgaria on its way to Constantinople. The severing of this trunk line, which is great to see because we were talking about trunk railways last week, trunk line of communication would be an almost fatal blow at the powers of the Central Empires in the Balkans. The Germans and Bulgars are, where am I here? The Germans and Bulgars are countering against the movement by an invasion of Romanian territory on the coast near the Black Sea, over 200 miles from the point on the Danube at which the Romanians are attacking. It is entirely probable that the Romanian General Staff will leave the Russian forces now rapidly advancing from Bessarabia to deal with this German-Bulgar counterattack, and will press on into Hungarian and Serbian territory along the Danube in the hope of crippling the whole German plan of campaign in the Balkans. The situation in Greece is still most confused. The ships off the Allied fleet sank a German submarine yesterday morning off of Balaron. It is claimed by the Allies that this submarine had received its supplies from Austrian and German ships seized during the day in the harbor of Piraeus. Allied officers are keeping in close touch not only with the officers of the interned Austrian and German ships, but with all agents of the Central Empire who it is believed will be expelled from Greece. The control of the Greek telegraphs, of the post office, and of the wireless telegraph system is demanded by the Allies, as well as the expulsion of all spies and agents of governments with whom the Allies are at war. Dispatches contain no suggestion of the immediate intervention of Greece on the side of the Allies. Recent events seem to indicate that all desired by General Saray was that he should not leave behind him potential enemies in the seaports of Greece and in the control of the Greek army when he begins his march into the Balkans. Activity in the Balkans and the Salonika front increases. The Bulgarians, in an attack upon the Serbs, sustained heavy losses and were repulsed. Violent artillery actions are reported on the Struma front, occupied by the right of General Saray's army, and the Lake Doiran region. It is significant that French patrols crossed the eastern bank of the Struma and carried on reconnoitering work. Official Petrograd reports state that in the region to the south of Halis, in Galicia, a great battle is in progress, and that still farther south on the summits of the Carpathians, several heights have been captured by the Russian troops. The Austrians, after unsuccessful counterattacks, retired, leaving 300 prisoners in the hands of the Russians. Berlin, referring to the Eastern Theater of War, admits the capture of the heights of Ploska and in the Carpathians, but the Russians, by the Russians, I don't know what the hell it says that. In Galicia to the north of Zorov, it is stated that strong Russian attacks have been completely repulsed. Yeah, it looks like a butt there. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The Battle of the Somme continues. The Franco-British army is not only holding the ground won in the fearful struggle of Sunday, but has made further gains. The most important have again fallen at 12 miles. They launched a general attack, took Soirecourt by storm. Hold on. Sorry, that was the phone. The most important have again fallen to the French south of the Somme. There, over a front of 12 miles, they launched a general attack, took Soirecourt by storm, captured the entire first line of the German trenches for a distance of 2.5 miles, occupied the village of Chili, which is, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but I was like, what? And part of the town of Vermande-Vierre, and reached the western edge of the wood of Sturm. Already 2,700 unwounded Germans have been passed through as prisoners taken south of the Somme yesterday. North of the river, the French made further progress to the east of the village of Le Forêt. The British yesterday morning beat off a German counterattack against their newly won positions northwest of Moquet Farm and gained further ground north of Valfmont Farm. Heavy fighting continues on this part of the front. During the past 2 days, it is officially announced in Paris, over 5,200 prisoners have been taken in the offensive north and south of the river. This presumably does not include the 800 men captured by the British troops on Sunday. Frederick Palmer, who saw the British attack, says the cannonading was the most intense of the campaign. More artillery was concentrated by both British and Germans in a given area than ever before. The result appalled the imagination, he says. Another correspondent says that von Hindenburg was present in the early stages of the battle and urged the Prussian Guard to hang on. The Germans believe that there will be no winter campaign and that a decision will be reached during the fighting of the next month. The misinformation supplied to the German people by their War Office is amazing in its audacity. On Sunday, not one word was given out as to the important battle of that day, in which the Germans lost 3 villages on the Somme and had several thousand men taken prisoners. Yesterday, the official report told of the repulsive Allied attacks during an extensive, bitter battle developing from the Anglo-French attacks begun yesterday, but said nothing of the result of the fighting on Sunday. In yesterday's battle, it is stated that north of the Somme, the Germans, commanded by von Steen and von Marschall, retained mastery of all their positions on both sides of the Ancre, and especially in attacks against Bitbal and northwest of Pozières. The Germans recaptured lost ground near Moquet Farm. South of the Somme, German artillery held down the French attacks, except in the sector southwest of Ballois. Forces advancing to attack near Ballois were singularly repulsed. The German public, who have access only to the official statements of their own War Office, must believe that the Kaiser's armies are holding their own on the entire front. The French and British reports show how utterly untrue this is. I think it's pronounced Ballois. I'll have to go and ask my Bulgarian friend again. The German-Bulgar attack on the Romanian frontier between the Danube and at Rostock and the Black Sea is developing and is evidently intended to alarm the Romanians by the threat of invasion from the south and lead to the recall of the Romanian armies now rapidly overrunning Transylvania. Berlin reports that Bulgarian cavalry operating on the Danube-Black Sea front have driven back the Romanian infantry, capturing 110 men. Neither the Russians from Bessarabia, who are believed to be advancing through the Dobruja to the aid of the Romanians, nor the Turks, who are understood to be en route to join the Bulgars, have yet come into action on the frontier. German semi-official papers are preparing the people for the active interposition of Greece in the war on the side of the Allies. The pressure of the Greeks on King Constantine is said to have been so great that he can no longer safely resist. In the meantime, Athens is being thoroughly cleaned of German spies and bribers. The active aid given to enemy submarines has ceased, and the leading plotters against the Allies have been arrested and removed to warships lying in the harbor of Piraeus. General Brusilov's offensive against Kovel and Lemberg has been resumed with the utmost vigor. From Thursday to Sunday, 285 Austrian and German officers and 19,020 men were captured. The stiffest fighting is taking place in central and southern Galicia and in the passes of the Carpathians, where Lechitsky's army is attempting, in cooperation with the Romanians farther south, to break through into the Hungarian plain. Brusilov, in making his principal attack towards Korosmizo, is following the route by which the Russians first pierced the Carpathians in the winter campaigns of 1914-15. Once he obtains control of the Kurli-Baba Pass, the descent into Hungary along the headwaters of the Theiss becomes comparatively easy. Italian attacks on the Austrians in Albania continue. On Saturday, the Italians crossed the Vaiusa, took 2 villages by storm, and temporarily occupied Monte Gradist. Later, they returned to their lines with much captured war material and 34 prisoners. Oh, you're going to love, well, I love this one. Just amazing how, when I read this, how arrogant the British are, just mind-boggling arrogant. The surrender of Dar es Salaam, the harbor of peace, to the British army will prove a fatal blow to German prestige throughout equatorial Africa. The town and harbor have been created by the Germans during the last 25 years with the idea of making Dar es Salaam the trading entrepot for Central Africa. Its streets are wide and well maintained, its buildings large and handsome, its dry dock and marine facilities up to date, and its position and the terminus on the Indian Ocean of the Central Eastern African Railway, which extends into the interior for 780 miles and has its westerly terminus on the shores of Lake Tanganyika, gives it a place in trade and commerce as a rival of Zanzibar. The Arabs of that city do not like the German. Dar es Salaam was in their occupation when Dr. Karl Peters occupied the then undeveloped port in 1887. Germany paid 4 million marks in 1890 to extinguish the rights of the Sultan of Zanzibar, but she has never been able to extinguish the animosity of the Arabs who were displaced by the Germans. They will not mourn the passing of Kaiser Wilhelm's sway, even if under British rule, the mild form of slavery still existing in the colony is at once and forever abolished. The German troops and native levies in East Africa are being rapidly rounded up, and another month should complete the conquest of the colony. And this just, oh my God, I couldn't believe this. This last sentence, I'm like, you got to be joking. It will be possible then to travel from Cape Town to the mouth of the Nile on the Mediterranean, entirely on British soil. Okay. My God. By the capture of the German positions on the hospital farm and in the Ranette Wood, the French north of the Somme yesterday removed the last obstacles intervening between them and the Paron-Bapaume highway, which is a scant half-mile east of the Ranette Wood. Long ago, the French and British guns made traffic along this trunk road impossible. Again, that word. And lately, they have been shelling German positions and convoys well to the east of it on the roads in the vicinity of the Tortille River, which flows into the Somme near Cléry, and which must be crossed before Paron is open to attack from the northwest. South of the Somme, the advance of Foch's troops imperils the Germans' hold upon Chaulnes, an important road center. The French, in their advance begun on Sunday, have now captured north and south of the Somme 6,550 prisoners and 36 guns. The troops of General Haig are doggedly pressing forward on their part of the front. During Monday night, they secured a lodgment in the wood of Luz, northwest of Comble, and the War Office reported last night that the fighting of yesterday had enabled the British troops to strengthen their positions in the wood, of which they now hold the greater part. The number of Germans taken by them since Sunday morning totals almost 1,100. The British advance north of the Somme is keeping up with that of General Foch's army. Comble lies almost enclosed between the two armies and will be the object of the next blow north of the Somme. The announcement by the War Office that the British forces striking northeastward from the village of Guillemont have made an advance of almost a mile and have obtained a grip of Luz woods is of considerable importance. Since the British began their drive easterly on July 1st, the hardest fighting of the advance has taken place in the numerous wooded areas that dot the landscape east of Albert on the hilly ground leading up to the summit of High Wood. In every one of these clumps of timber, desperate struggles have occurred, and in them the Germans, aided by skillfully hidden dugouts equipped with machine guns, have taken heavy toll of the British force before they were driven out. When the wood of Luz is entirely occupied, no further wooded area intervenes between the British and French and their immediate objectives, Paron and Bapaume. There are numerous hamlets which will be used for shelter by the defense, especially along the high road between Paron and Bapaume. But the Franco-British army, making progress at the average rate of the past 2 months, should be in possession of both towns by the end of September, unless the Germans are able to add very greatly to the number of heavy guns now used by them on the Somme front. Mr. C.F. Bertelli, one of the most shrewd observers of the operations of the Allies, says the secret of French successes this summer is the magnificent use being made of the innumerable heavy guns and the mountains of shells provided by the Ministry of Munitions. The British supply is probably not yet so ample as that of the French, but everyone returning from the British front tells of the steady stream of big guns and shells reaching the battle line. The Germans are being literally blasted out of France by high explosives, and the blasting charge becomes greater and more effective daily. The reports from southern Romania telling of the landing of Russian troops on the Black Sea coast and the defeat of Bulgar detachments which had pushed forward 18 miles across the border verify the expectation that Russia's task in the Balkans is to be the invasion of Bulgaria from the north. The first serious blow will be directed against Varna. The occupation of that port will enable the Russians to provision their advancing columns with little difficulty. The Bulgars may be expected to fight with all their power to retain Varna and its railway connections. To that end, it is believed they have greatly weakened their forces on the Salonika front and made General Saray's task lighter than it otherwise would have been. The delay in launching the offensive of the Allies on the Macedonian front causes surprise in London and Paris, where it is clearly understood that in 10 weeks, the Balkans will be snow-covered and the season for active military operations will be over until May 1917. If Bulgaria is to be put out of business this season, General Saray must move almost immediately. There is still comparative quiet on the Salonika front, and the aggressive action there appears to be mostly on the part of the enemy. The clearing up of the situation in Greece may make a change. The Zionist government is recalling the reservists to the colors, and there's no doubt this time as to how they are going to be employed. They will be used to drive the Bulgars out of Greece and to aid the Serbs in the recovery of Macedonia. Russian pressure continues against the Teuton front in the southern Volhynian sector, where Brusilov has added largely to the number of his prisoners. The operations in the Carpathians also goes well for the Russians, but the forcing of the passes is necessarily slow work, and the heights secured must be thoroughly fortified while the advance is in progress to guard against counterattacks. The Austrian reports betray apprehension as to the operations in the Carpathians. The capture of Orsova on the Danube by the Romanians is reported in a telegram from Vienna to London. No official Romanian dispatch claiming possession of the town has been issued. Its loss is a serious one for Austria and will permit the Romanians to advance easterly along the Danube and ultimately to menace the all-important Orient Railway. The French go forward steadily south of the Somme. After checking heavy German counterattacks in this region on Tuesday night, they resumed their offensive yesterday afternoon between Bellois-en-Santerre and at a point south of Cholne. Or it could have been this one is the Bellois. I'm not, probably is Bellois. But anyways, I'm just focusing too much on the wrong stuff. The greater part of the village of Bellois was captured by storm, as was the northern part of Vermont d'Auvilliers. In the Cholne sector, the French first line has been advanced to the outskirts of the town along the line of railway that runs from Cholne to Rouen. The destruction of the railway facilities of the Germans must be greatly lessening their defensive powers on this part of the front. The French guns now command most of the passages of the Somme for a considerable distance south of Péronne, and supplies and munitions from the base there for the troops west of the river have to be sent forward at great risk. The French report says the fighting south of the Somme yesterday was violent, and that the number of prisoners taken by the army of General Foch seems to be important, though not exactly known. The British are fast closing in on Comble from the northwest. Sir Douglas Haig reported yesterday afternoon that during Tuesday night, the British troops gained possession of the whole of the wood of Luds, and that fighting was in progress between the wood and the village of Comble. Reports from the front say that Comble has been transformed into a fortress through the construction of many deep underground galleries and the installation of machine guns and the ruins of the houses. The ground now occupied by the British to the northwest. It's because I'm not looking where the mouse pointer is, and sometimes it goes away and I'm trying to scroll down while still reading, is higher than that on which the village stands, and the Germans, subjected to an overwhelming artillery fire from this high ground, will not regain their hold there. The War Office stated last night that severe fighting continues at Ganchy, and that a large part of the enemy was caught near Courcelette by the British artillery yesterday and scattered. A similar experience befell many German working parties. The unceasing pounding of the British guns prevents the enemy from making new dugouts to replace those of which he has been turned. The absence of sufficient shelter must greatly increase the German losses, as well as render more difficult the holding of the new ground under attack. Berlin continues to minimize the importance of the Franco-British gains on the Somme. It was admitted in an official statement issued yesterday that the Allies had gained ground at small places in limited areas, and that Cléry was in their hands. but these things were put forward in an incidental way, and that the report placed the emphasis on the assertion that the 560,000 British and French troops engaged in the attack had been sanguinarily repulsed. It would be impossible for these German official reports to learn the position of the two armies on the Somme front. From Petrograd comes a statement regarding the effect of the new Russian gas shell, which shows how great a horror the Germans added to the sum of war's terrors when they introduced poison gas and shells containing poison to the battlefield. In an attack made 20 miles southeast of Vladimir Volynski several days ago, the Russians, during the artillery preparation, threw many of their new gas shells into the Austrian trenches. The fire of the enemy was suddenly silenced, and when the Russians pushed forward, they found the trenches tenanted only by several hundred dead Austrians who had been killed instantly by the fumes from the shells. The attack in the Vladimir Volynski sector was a very great success, as a result in part of the secrecy with which the preparations for it were made. 3 lines of enemy trenches along a front of 20 miles were carried after 5 hours of artillery preparation and 3,000 prisoners taken. The occupation of northern Epirus by the Italian army of Albania is greatly disturbing the Greeks, who had regarded the territory as virtually their own, and when the authority of the Prince of Albania was defied by the people at the outbreak of war, had occupied the principal towns. Now the Italians are displacing the Greeks and effectively garrisoning the region preparatory to moving north in an offensive against the Austrians. A protest to Britain and France is talked of, but it is not at all probable that Britain and France will object to any military steps taken by Italy in the Balkans, with the avowed object of aiding in the expulsion of the Teutons and Bulgars. And this is it, the last one. This kind of went well, actually, I think, for my voice. It only didn't crack every 5 seconds. The bulletins issued, and I have to take 400 breaks. The bulletins issued by the Romanian government are heavily censored and held up for several days after the events of which they speak have taken place. The Austrians continue to retire from eastern Transylvania, and Romanian bulletins tell of the capture of 620 men, 500 wagon loads of food and forage, and other material of military value. In the Dobruja, conditions are not so satisfactory. There, the Germans and Bulgars are making what appears to be a serious attack and have penetrated a considerable distance into Romanian territory. The Russians, to whom the defense of this part of the Romanian frontier was assigned, are not yet on the job. Anyways, I hope that went well. I hope you have a great remainder of your weekend and week, and I hope to see you next week. And here we go for the war summary for August 25th.